society today. Come after me. I'm a man. I'm 40.
Go ahead. Make my day.
Every single week, I put my freaking heart and soul into this. I don't go out there and laugh. It's not funny. It's not fun. Nothing's funny to me. I don't want to go out there and get embarrassed on Monday Night Football in front of everybody.
I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
So ain't nothing changed from yesterday. Still the same person I was yesterday, and I got the same thing for you that I had yesterday. You know why I'm here.
You play to win the game. You don't play to just play it. That's the great thing about sports. You play to win. And I don't care if you don't have any wins. You go play to win. When you start telling me it doesn't matter, then retire. Get out. Because it matters.
I love the NCAA tournament just like you do. Those are late nights, man. Late nights when you've got teams you want to cover and you've got to make sure you're aware of what's happening. Michigan in a late one overcomes 14 turnovers, and they turn back UC San Diego 68-65. It looked comfortable for Michigan. Scored the first 10 points of the game. Looked like they were getting inside. Looked like they were shooting hot. And then there was a period early in the second half, after Michigan makes the first bucket of the second half, early in the second half, where the turnovers just became ridiculous. Talk about loose with the ball. And while you're watching the game, I'm sure you were feeling the exact same thing I was. Going, these are the reasons people don't believe. These are the reasons people look at it and say, if they could only do ... And really, every fan base is probably doing that with a team that just lost. And every fan base might be doing that with a team that barely won. The concern is this. It reared its ugly head this way. When we talk during the regular season, or even in the Big Ten tournament, and people would call in and, you know, they get a little frustrated with their team, and I understand why. Not only are you looking for ways to win, but you're looking for ways to reinforce your belief on why they will win. So when Michigan wins as many close games as they do, and I'll sit there and tell you, I don't care as long as they win. That's what's most important. But then I always say, down the road, you'll look back and see if it's some type of phobia with your team. And it might be a reason why you don't have great faith they'll go deep. Michigan's turnover issues. And look, I mean, this is what they said on TNT, right? Or was it CBS? Yeah, it was TBS, I guess, which is all the same. Seth Davis, in a ridiculous accent, picked UC San Diego. It's not a crime. I mean, I think a lot of people had UC San Diego in their bracket. I didn't, but a lot of people did. He said the turnovers, I don't want to say it's low-hanging fruit, but it's the easy thing to go to, isn't it? It's the fact that Michigan turns it over a lot. This is what we said. And UC San Diego forces a lot of turnovers. Michigan had 14. Every starter in Michigan's lineup had at least 2 turnovers. They just played too loose with the ball. They forced bad passes from tough angles. Vlad Golden's posting up, and you got a guy at the top of the key trying to feed him. When there's a guy in front of you, a guy trying to front Vlad Golden, coaches oftentimes will tell you, dribble to the wing, feed it that way. It's an easier outside-handed pass. Michigan didn't do that. So too loose with the ball. It does make people say, see, this is why, and it's fair. I mean, it's a fair criticism. I remind people there are no perfect teams. You don't have to be perfect to win the NCAA championship. But when your weakness is the opposing team's strength, it's a little bit of an issue. And that gives you the reason why people feel they pick against you. On the other hand, UC San Diego shot less than 39%. Michigan's defense played pretty damn well. It could be the primary reason they won the game in the first place. Vlad Golden had 14. Trey Donaldson had a dozen. Wolverines next get Texas A&M in Denver Saturday, 5:15. The Aggies were an 80-71 winner over Yale. They're the 4 seed. The Aggies are the 4 seed, so you get the 4 and the 5. So we'll talk about that throughout. What you love most, unless it's your team, what you love most about the NCAA tournament is you just don't know oftentimes, right? I mean, isn't that the thrill of it? Isn't that the reason? Look, you've studied this all year. You've talked about it all season. You think you know the teams. You do some research on it, and you think, you know what? I'm feeling pretty good about my bracket. And then you've got some schmo in your office who hasn't watched a college basketball game all year, said, I'll throw $10 in. What's $10? I'll throw $10 in for it. And suddenly they're beating you in the bracket. They're beating you in your NCAA tournament office pool. And it frustrates the hell out of you. And I don't blame you. It's like, I remember going to the races one time, horse races, with a bunch of people, including my girlfriend at the time. And we're out there and we're taking a few bets. I don't bet a lot. But back then, bet a few things. We were at Hazel Park, and my girlfriend starts winning. And I'm looking at odds. I'm looking at past performances. I'm talking to people who are more knowledgeable than I. Hey, what do you like about this horse? They're giving me insight. I'm betting with a purpose. What I think is some decent knowledge. She's betting based on the color of the blanket that the horse is wearing. You know, the little number. That's what she's winning. And you're happy for her to a certain extent, but then you're like, what the hell am I doing? What am I doing wrong? It's not too dissimilar from you in your NCAA tournament bracket. You got a pretty good idea who you like. How'd they do yesterday? McNeese State topped Clemson by 2. Drake beat up Missouri by 10. Arkansas knocked out Kansas. So in case you couldn't watch all of them, Houston was an easy winner. I'm sure you had that. Auburn had a difficult time in the first half with Alabama State, but then pulled away and won by 20. Tennessee over Wofford in what was a pretty close game for the most part. St. John's used a strong second half to blow the doors off Omaha. Omaha came into I don't know why teams do this. Emotion, you know me, emotion only takes you so far, but extra incentive sometimes does make a difference. Why Omaha comes into the arena with a trash can and St. John's logo on it, claiming this is your bracket buster. Just throw away your bracket here into the trash can because we're going to blow it up. They got blown out by 30, 83-53. Wisconsin over Montana. Here's a guess. A lot of people chose to take Montana as a cute little upset because you don't believe Wisconsin can keep up scoring, and you were wrong. Wisconsin scored 85. Texas Tech a winner, Purdue a winner, good for the Big Ten. I told you about Texas A&M, told you about McNeese State. Watched that game, really entertaining game. BYU over VCU. Drake upsets Missouri. There's the first loss for me in the bracket. Arkansas dumps Kansas. Kansas, 4 turnovers in a span of 90 seconds late in the game. UCLA over Utah State. There's my second loss in my bracket. Creighton, really impressive. Shoots the blood out of the ball. Drills Louisville, basically in their backyard, and Gonzaga runs away from Georgia. So I had a couple of losses on day one. How did you do? We'll talk about it. Michigan State will preview them and Bryant and more. Stay with us. Just getting rolling on a Friday. We're brought to you by Ferris Coffee. This is X's and Bros across the state of Michigan.
Huge here for my good friends at Insurate. Now they understand more than anybody that inflation has caused auto insurance premiums in our state to skyrocket. And Insurate was built to help people in Michigan comparison shop their auto insurance. A true one-stop shop for saving money. So stop overpaying. Call 231-COMPARE to get quotes today or visit insure.it. That is insure.it. Compare and save money right now.
Saturday, April 5th, Soaring Eagle Casino becomes Daryl's house. Don't miss a legend live, Daryl Hall, with special guest Glenn Tilbrook of Squeeze. Tickets start at $62 and are on sale now at the box office and etix.com. Make your favorite Sarah smile. Daryl Hall with Glenn Tilbrook, Saturday, April 5th at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort, SoaringEagleCasino.com.
Hear that? That's the sound of saving a good deal more when you shop with M-Perks at Meijer. Some delicious blueberries, money saved. A creamy treat of cookie dough ice cream, that's money saved. Savings, savings, savings. Because every dollar spent is also 10 points earned in M-Perks, which you can use to save on your next grocery trip or up to $1 off per gallon on your next tank of gas. At Meijer, we work hard to help you save a good deal more for a whole lot less. That's bringing more good to life. Exclusions apply. See mperks.com for details.
What's up, Michigan? You're listening to Shep. Don't forget the huge show later today at 3 on the Michigan Sports Network.
One of my pet peeves with fans in general is the belief, because I think they're listening for it, is the belief that broadcasters are rooting for one team or another. National broadcasters. I think we're all human. This happens. I've done plenty of national broadcasts of teams that I have no lineage to at all. Okay. And yeah, there are coaches you talk to, players you talk to that make you go, you know what, I like that person. I think that's human nature. I think there are times where you see during a game that a player is playing a certain way that you really respect, and you might kind of gravitate or feel toward them. Wow, that player is incredible. Just did it last weekend with the high school state championships. Certain guys playing, you're like, man, love watching this kid play. Okay. There's a kid from Wayne Memorial, the point guard there, who I looked at and I said, man, I love the way this kid plays. So at the beginning of the broadcast, when he has 10 early points in the first half, you're like, this is who you thought you were getting here. This guy's going to be a problem all day. Then he went on to struggle mightily, and East Lansing pulled away. There's another kid on East Lansing. He wasn't one of the big names, Hudson or Torbert, but he stepped forward, had a really big game. You can't help but notice it, talk about it, because he wasn't necessarily in the quote-unquote scouting report. But fans will go into games, and I'm guilty of it too, by the way. When the Pistons played for the Eastern Conference Championship against the Boston Celtics, and CBS gave us Dick Stockton, Boston, Tommy Heinsohn, Hall of Famer Celtic, and Leslie Visser, Stockton's wife, all during the broadcast, you thought, where are they leaning? And then you listen for it, and you convince yourself that's the case. Some people last night texting me, what a homer broadcast for UC San Diego. Like, what are you talking about? Brad Nessler and Brendan Haywood are all in on the Tritons. Now, their pregame, if you want to talk about Seth Davis leaning toward the upset, I think that's fair, and I don't like Seth Davis, quite honestly, but he picked them, so he's going to give you a reason why he picked them. I get that, don't you? If you watched that at all, did you recognize a UC San Diego leaning? In fact, at halftime, Davis said the game was over. I thought it was premature. You're sitting here telling us in the pregame, Michigan turns it over a lot, blah, 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 blah. Michigan is still the same team. If they start turning it over, doesn't that allow UC San Diego to get back into the game, even though they were down 10, 15 at one point? I thought it was a mixed message by Seth Davis. He literally said, looks like they're going home. You still had another half to go. I thought it was very strange. But either way, people believing that it was one-sided and that the broadcast was rooting for UC San Diego. I can tell you this. I think most broadcasters would say, I want a good game. Not many people want a 30-point blowout. If you're a home broadcaster, yes. Let's pack that baby up. Let's get this rolling. I get that. We weren't listening to the Michigan Sports Network, University of Michigan anyway. If we're listening tonight, if we're listening to Will Tiemann and Matt Stegenga call the Michigan State matchup against Bryant, you would expect a Michigan State leaning broadcast. That's their job. But CBS, True TV, TNT, TBS, you shouldn't be able to notice that. And I sure didn't notice it anyway. Now, full cards on the table here. Brad Nessler is one of my favorite broadcasters. I think he's phenomenal. He might be my favorite. I think he does a great job in football and basketball. But some people feel like it was a little much. I didn't get that sense. Trent, I'm sure you stayed up and watched it. You're young. You can party all weekend long. Did you get a sense that there was a UC San Diego leaning tone to Brad Nessler and Brendan Hayward?
No, I'm going to be honest. I mean, full transparency, you and I, we prep for the show, but we don't do a ton of discussion about what's going to be said. When you said that, I didn't even cross my mind that there was a slant one way or another during that game.
Yeah, I didn't get it at all.
No.
But like I said, I think people listen for that. I do. Look, when Drake is winning down the stretch or McNeese State is winning down the stretch, you would be inhuman if you didn't at least lean into the storyline of those teams performing an upset. When McNeese State wins its first ever NCAA tournament, if you're not excited for them, again, I don't think you're doing your job. You're supposed to be fair. You're supposed to be balanced. You're supposed to be middle down the road. But when the game is obvious, it's okay to lean into that team a little bit. And I think that's what they did with a lot of those, if you want to call them upsets or really close games. The Arkansas-Kansas game was very interesting.
I thought that was the best game of the first round, or the first day, I should say, because the first round continues today. Yeah, I did. Yeah. I thought it was a great coaching matchup. I thought it was a 3-point game at halftime.
Yep. I thought
great second half came down to the final minute.
Yeah. Again, not to be ticky-tack. I don't like to use the word great because I thought Kansas was awful down the stretch. So I didn't think it was great.
Oh, they were terrible. They turned the ball over 6 times in the last 3.5 minutes.
Right. So that to me doesn't make it great by any stretch. And yes, I think you're right. I think a lot of people looked at it like, John Calipari against Bill Self. Okay. Yeah.
They played together. They coached against each other in 2 national championship games.
Personally, I watch for games. I watch for players. But yeah, in college basketball, it's a theme, no doubt. If you don't admit that, you're not paying attention, right? I thought the Creighton game, I was blown away by how good Creighton was. I mean, their shooting was fantastic.
Did you pick Creighton or did you have Louisville?
No, I picked Creighton. Yeah,
okay.
I picked Creighton.
Very nice.
They just shot better than I thought. The games that I lost yesterday, not that it matters. Who gives a crap about my bracket, right? The games I lost yesterday, I lost Missouri Drake because I picked Mizzou.
Me too.
I did take Kansas over Arkansas. And I took Utah State upsetting UCLA. And that wasn't even close. That was 72-47 UCLA in a rout. Everything else, yes, I took McNeese State. I thought about taking Yale, but I'm like, I just don't see that.
That was a popular, trendy.
It was.
Upset. So was High Point over Purdue. A lot of people thought High Point.
I think that's more about Purdue than it is High Point.
Correct.
I don't think many people know who High Point is. So they just look at Purdue and they think, well, the Big Ten oftentimes underperforms. Big Ten went 3-0 yesterday. Not saying that that's the almighty reason to cash in on the Big Ten. I'm just saying it's a good start for them. It may end quickly.
Yeah, and how'd the ACC do?
But it was a good start for them. So, I mean, I got 3 losses on day one. I'm sure it's going to happen a little bit further on. You got to take an upset here or there. And I think you got to be careful with it. We told you yesterday, 33 of the 39 NCAA tournaments, at least won 5 or at least won 12 beat a 5. Well, now it's 34 out of 40 because of McNeese State beating Clemson. Preview the Pistons. We got our poll question for you. A ton to get to on a Friday morning, brought to you by Ferris Coffee on the Michigan Sports Network. This is X's and Bros.
Coming right at you. The excitement you've been waiting for. Eagle Casino and Sports. The mobile casino made in Michigan, made for Michigan. Play slots and table games with live dealers at one exciting site. PlayEagle.com. Sign up today and get a match deposit up to $1,500. That's right, up to $1,500 plus 100 free spins. Eagle Casino and Sports. Go to PlayEagle.com and start winning today. Must be 21 or older and in Michigan to play.
He would cheer for my good friend Josh Garvey. Now he runs Dorn Mayhew's Grand Rapids office in downtown GR. They're one of the world's top accounting and CPA firms. Their worldwide headquarters in Troy, Michigan on the east side of the state. If you're a business looking to work with professionals who will help you every step of the way, turn to Josh Garvey and his team at Doran Mayhew. Also, don't forget Doran Mayhew brings you Coach Beeline and Josh every Tuesday, talking hoops on the Huge Show across Michigan.
Rock legend Peter Frampton comes alive. Peter Frampton, the Let's Do It Again tour returns Saturday, April 19th to Soaring Eagle Casino. Tickets start at $73 and are on sale now at the box office or etix.com. Ooh, baby, I love you. Peter Frampton, April 19th at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. SoaringEagleCasino.com.
The Freddie the Pizza Man Foundation is dedicated to providing support to families and Michigan schools touched by autism. We invite you to join us in supporting these families and schools by making a donation at freddythepizzaman.com. With your donation, you can help provide essential resources that can make a real impact. Visit freddythepizzaman.com to make a donation and to learn more about the foundation's mission. That's FREDI thepizzaman.com. Together, we can make a difference.
Hear that? That's the sound of saving a good deal more when you shop with MPerks at Meijer. Some delicious blueberries, money saved. A creamy treat of cookie dough ice cream, that's money saved. Savings, savings, savings. Because every dollar spent is also 10 points earned in MPerks, which you can use to save on your next grocery trip or up to $1 off per gallon on your next tank of gas. At Meijer, we work hard to help you save a good deal more for a whole lot less. That's bringing more good to life. Exclusions apply. See MPerks.com for details.
What's up, Michigan? You're listening to Shep. Don't forget the Huge Show later today at 3 on the Michigan Sports Network.
Michigan's slim win yesterday means that the Wolverines have won 13 games by 4 points or fewer this season. That ties the most in NCAA history in a season. Quick question before we preview Pistons. And by the way, you can call us, Meyer Hotline, 866-838-4843. You can text us, Sports Radio to 21,000. I don't know if you stayed up as late as we did to watch the game. I mean, Trent and I did. We were texting late. Trent said, I think it's going to be a close game. I picked Michigan by 7. I felt pretty good with that prediction.
We were both kind of right. You know what I mean?
No, I wasn't right. You were right.
But the game shouldn't have been that close, is my point.
Okay, well, but it was.
It was.
So I'm
trying to give you
right.
credit.
I know you are, and that's nice of you, but it's okay. I mean, I said by at least 7 or somewhere around there,
right.
And it wasn't. Okay, I mean, had they played in the second half like they played in the first half, maybe it would have been, but they didn't. The point is, when you're staying up late and you're watching that game, you got to watch to the end. I thought at halftime, I thought about going, you know what? I'll watch some highlights in the morning. This game is over. You should know better.
Crossed my mind as well.
Yeah, you should know better.
You have to know better.
In this tournament, with all the things that go on and the wonderful storylines, you've got to know different. But there are a lot of people were on social media anyway, poo-pooing the tournament because they want more upsets. It's like, does a game have to be good? If a game has to be good, you believe it needs to part of the requirement is an upset?
Do you need to have upsets to be entertained by the tournament?
Yeah, I don't. And maybe I'm different here. I'm not saying I'm completely right. I don't know how much a 10-7 matchup is an upset.
Yeah, same with an 8-9.
Kansas. I don't know. I don't know if that's necessarily an upset. It was a good game for the most part. I thought down the stretch it was awful because of Kansas's inability to protect the ball. Creighton, Louisville, I was entertained, but more by Creighton than Louisville. But Louisville had a moment here or there. Gonzaga beating the snot out of Georgia was not entertaining. Yale and Texas A&M. I mean, at times Yale was in it. It wasn't a great game. The McNeese State game against Clemson was really entertaining.
Clemson made a run in the second half.
12-5 matchup, but because it was just an entertaining game. I don't need an upset. Alabama State hung with Auburn. What is it we expect? Are you one of those people who watches the NCAA tournament always rooting for the lower seed, unless it's like we just said, like 8-9? I don't think people would have cared. Creighton, Louisville. You're rooting for your bracket,
right?
But it's funny. People will root for the lower seed, but they'll pick the higher seed. Well, it's because it's my brain and not what I want. Yeah, but it ruins your bracket. You're in to try and win some cash in your bracket. So why do you feel like in order to be entertained, I need the lower seed to win? Or here's what the cop-out is. And perhaps it's fair, but most of the cop-out is, you know what? I just want it to be a good game. That's what they'll tell you. But in the end, what they really want is the upset. They don't want just the game.
Yeah, that's a Super Bowl take that I hear all the time.
It's the kids wanting something at Christmas. I'd just be happy with a gift card to Lululemon, right?
And I'm sure you would be happy.
And then when they open it up, they're like, oh, this is great. Well, that's what you wanted. Okay, everybody else has got 5 or 6 presents. But I don't understand. I mean, but that's all you asked for. You just wanted the Lululemon gift card. You got it. That's what you want. Now you want more because you got what you want, right? I mean, that's kind of how it goes in the NCAA tournament. I just want a good game, Shep. Okay, well, you got a good game here. But I really wanted the upset. Then say that at the beginning. I mean, just tell you that's who you expect to win, okay? Let's get to some texts. Fire away with Sports Radio 21,000.
You will see upsets this weekend, but not in the first round. That's what a text says. I actually kind of subscribe to that. I think people get carried away with the 12-5, and people like to pick a 13 or, X years out of the last X years. There's been an 11 seed making Sweet 16.
The 12-5 is real.
It is. You mentioned it. 34 years in the last 40.
34 in the last 40. Yep, and it happened twice last year. It's already
still
happened
room
once
for it to
this
happen
year.
twice.
Yeah,
this year.
McNeese State beating Clemson, so it's definitely real. Who's to say? I'll bet you, even though people have already filled out their brackets, I'll bet you dollars to donuts that people will say McNeese State's going to beat Purdue now.
Yes.
You didn't have them in the first round because you didn't know what McNeese State was all about. You didn't realize that they had a bunch of guys who were, to a certain extent, used to this situation because McNeese State it's their first time winning in the NCAA tournament, but they've got some, transfer guys. They've got some length. You didn't realize that. You can read about a team, but until you see a team play, I didn't know about them either. So I'm not claiming
until they jump it up.
Right, until they jump it up. So now you'll be like, yeah, I think I'll. That's why I was so respectful of Jim Comparoni yesterday. Jim Comparoni, he doesn't write. He writes for Spartan Mag. He's a publisher of Spartan Mag. In case you missed our interview, he doesn't come on and say, you know what? I think Michigan State, the key is defense and rebounding. Because that's what they do really well. Yeah. Oh, thanks a lot. No, he went back. He watched 4 different games of Bryant start to finish before he makes a judgment. We had a Michigan insider,
Anthony
Broom, and you can follow him on Twitter, Anthony T. Broom. You can. What did he say? He was able to talk about, so many different teams. He did his homework. He had
in the 12-5 trend.
He had all these other things that he brought up in favor of why you might side with this team over another team. These guys did their homework. I give them a ton of credit. They were both really good guests. Now, you watched McNeese State, you watched Purdue, or at least you read the box score and you see the difference between the two teams. And now there's a part of you that might go, Saturday, 12 o'clock, I think McNeese State is going to win. Or maybe because they've already blown up part of your bracket at the beginning, you're going to pick them again anyway. You're going to root for them, even if it goes against your bracket. Well, they screwed me in the first round. I might as well root for them against in the second. I root for the Big Ten, man. I want the Big Ten to win a national championship. I don't care who it is. I don't care
off
if
to
it's
a hot
Purdue, I don't care
start.
if it's Wisconsin. I don't care if it's Michigan. I don't care if it's Michigan State. I don't care if it's UCLA. I don't know if I can necessarily claim it. Okay, if UCLA or Oregon. But I want the Big Ten to be well represented, and I want the Big Ten to win. Now, as a MAC guy, I'd love Akron to win today. That'd be kick-ass. And they won, 17 games in the Mid-American Conference, which isn't terrible. So what people are going to get, you got Arkansas. You talked about Arkansas and Kansas, Calipari and Self. Well, guess what you get next?
Yes.
You get Calipari against Pitino.
Yeah, baby.
You get Arkansas and St. John's. Now, for me, it doesn't move my needle that much.
It does for me. I'm not going to lie.
I'm not watching coaches. I'm watching players. All right. Now, in basketball, it's slightly different, right? You're drawing up more plays. You're doing bobs. You're doing sobs, sideline out of bounds, baseline out of bounds. You're doing all that stuff. But, for the most part, it's the players who are doing this stuff.
Oh, of course.
So for me, it's just that to me is a bit of a sideshow. Oh, we got Calipari. Oh, we got Pitino. Wasn't long ago where people were like, Pitino, he can't coach anymore. And now look what he's done at St. John's. So suddenly you're all enamored with him. Forget that he was, with a woman in a restaurant on a table not too long ago. You'll get Michigan and Texas. We'll bypass that. Oh, it's John Calipari. It's Rick Pitino. If it's Rick Pitino, that's fine. Anybody else is like, man, what a pig. But it's Rick Pitino. He can coach, so it doesn't matter. So you get Michigan, you get Texas A&M, you get Drake and Texas Tech. Texas Tech didn't look all that great. So don't think that Drake can't continue. Creighton against Auburn. I told you, Auburn struggled a little bit in that first half against Alabama State. They do that against Creighton. If Creighton is getting shots, they're knocking them down. Those dudes can flat out get it done, and they are not intimidated, and they got a hell of a basketball coach. BYU against Wisconsin. BYU looked really good. Wisconsin, though, can score. You should know that watching them in the Big Ten.
Wisconsin was very impressive yesterday, I thought, by the way. That was one of the early games, so there's not a ton of action going on. That was one you didn't really have to pay attention to.
They're good, man. They're good. Of course, we saw it. They beat, look, I know you can't take too much into one specific game. Beating Michigan State in Indianapolis in the Big Ten tournament.
Yeah.
It tells you something, all right? And they, of course, obviously hung with Michigan. They're as a 3 seed, I thought they were overseeded, but they're a pretty good team. You got Gonzaga against Houston. Houston's a bear. Tennessee against UCLA, and then that is on Saturday. That's the second round from the teams that won yesterday.
But to get back to the texter's point, they said you'll see upsets in this first weekend, just maybe not on day one. And I agree, or maybe not in the first round.
That's why I just read day two. If that's where you think the upsets are coming, I'm trying to figure out maybe where they may come from.
Shep, I would ask you. I mean,
possibly a team like Creighton over Auburn. All right.
That could happen. It could. Auburn looked susceptible yesterday. Well, let me ask you this, Shep, real quick. So because now we have Michigan versus Texas A&M. Michigan beats Texas A&M. Are we calling that a monumental upset?
I don't think it's a monumental upset, but I do believe it'd be an upset.
Yeah. Me too, because I think A&M will be favored in the spread there, but I don't know. It's a 4 versus a 5.
What determines the upset? I mean, is that what we use? I was talking with a friend of mine at the gym yesterday about that. Is that what we use as the determining factor?
Seeding. Upset? Yeah.
Well, no, you didn't say seeding. You said Vegas.
No, but I think it's seeding.
I look at seeding. 5 beating at a 4.
I think the average Joe looks at the seed line.
I think it's more because a Big Ten team beats an SEC team that is ranked higher. The SEC, as we all know, was the almighty conference, 14 teams in the tournament.
Remarkable.
The most in NCAA tournament history, the most since 2011, when 11 teams from the Big East were in, but 14 teams. There's a part of me, full transparency here, there's a part of me that roots against the SEC for that specific reason. Okay? I happen to think I get tired of the whole they brought this up during one of the broadcasts yesterday, and I think it was during the Texas A&M game. And one of the announcers said, this always used to be a football conference. Then they got together and they said, we're not good enough in basketball. We got to get better coaches. If you're a past SEC coach, you probably take great offense to that. No matter who it would be.
Right.
But anyway, so they feel like they've got some of the greatest coaches in the country right now. I wouldn't call Rick Barnes a great coach, but whatever. In Tennessee's a 2 seed and they're in the SEC. But that's something that they were talking about. And I was kind of wondering a little bit you think that's the primary reason that they've become a little bit better is because of the coaching? It could be. I mean, it's part of the reason the Big Ten has become better in football is because of coaching.
If you do think of it,
more because of who you're getting on your roster, who you're getting on your team. Where are you going to get these players? Are you getting them from areas in which, at least in the college football example, used to go to the SEC, and now you're crawling into that territory? You're getting more going to Ohio State, going to Michigan, going to Penn State, going to Michigan State. Places like that.
But the unique thing is that's where coaches that is part of coaching in college hoops.
Well, of course. I mean, you have to have relationships
for sure.
But here's what a lot of coaches. This is how you fill out a staff. You have a certain area that is your strength. If I bring on Trent Bally, I bring him on because he can really help us recruit the West. He's familiar with the coaches. He's familiar with the programs. He's familiar with the players. He's got the connections to people out West. I bring on another person, Bill Simonson. He's got the ins with all the coaches in the Midwest. So he helps me there. This guy helps me on the East Coast. There's a reason why they have certain coaches on their staff, because their strengths in recruiting, it's not just breaking down film. It's not just communicating with players. Their strength in recruiting is a certain part of the United States you feel like you have to be able to get. Jim Harbaugh is a really good example of it. He went out and who did he get? He got guys from out east, New Jersey, Maryland, wherever it may be. So he can bring certain guys in, Rashawn Gary, Jabril Peppers, from the East Coast. Okay. You've got certain other guys on your staff who are really good down in Florida, really good down in Georgia, really good down in Alabama. You get those guys. It's no different than basketball. You have to be able to cover the map. And you've got to be able to go out and get guys from a certain area. Let's go to some text. You can text us, Sports Radio to 21,000. What do we got on a Friday morning?
John and Holt wants to know, do you think Michigan State covers the point spread against Bryant? And for the record, the point spread is currently 18, Shep.
I said to Trent last night, I think Michigan State's going to blow them out. So I'm going to say yes.
What did you think of the Michigan UC San Diego 2.5-point Michigan line? Which, by the way, they covered by a half. That ended up being a great line for Vegas.
Yeah, what I did is, I think I told you I thought they would win by 7-9 points. So yeah. I would have taken that bet, but I would have been real easy in taking it. I felt really good that Michigan was going to cover that. And obviously they didn't feel real good covering it, but they covered it. But yeah, I thought they were going to win, not easily. I don't think a 7-point win is easily, but no. I didn't think they were going to have the nervousness of what they had at the end of the game last night. So any other texts? Yeah,
someone wants to know, what was your biggest upset pick from yesterday, if any?
Yeah, so I did pick McNeese State over Clemson, but I also took Utah State. So those were the picks that I had. In my bracket right now, it's not blown up, but it's not perfect either. I had a couple of upsets. I had I lost the Drake game, as I mentioned. I had Missouri over Drake, but Drake won. I had Utah State beating UCLA. I could not have been more wrong. Could not have been more wrong in that situation. And I did have McNeese State over Clemson. What gave me reason for that? I don't know. It's as simple as that. It's a 12-5. I felt like there was going to be a 12-5 winner.
You have to pick.
Talking yesterday with Anthony Broom of Wolverine.com, the Wolverine.com, what did he say? He thought the 12-5 that included Colorado State was going to be the upset. Fair enough. I took McNeese State. I got it right. I don't think they'll win their next game. However, I did pick them to win their opening game. So that was my biggest upset, but my worst pick was probably Utah State against UCLA. UCLA had no problem with them whatsoever. The final score there was 72-47. Not to throw too many numbers at you, but here's another number for you. The Meyer hotline, 866-838-4843. You can text the show, Sports Radio, to 21,000. By the way, it's creeping up on us. Opening day. We want to send you to opening day. Text Tigers to 21,000. You'll have a chance to go to opening day at Comerica Park, courtesy of the Michigan Sports Network. We did it for Michigan State in Ann Arbor. We did it for Michigan State in East Lansing. We're going to have a watch party for opening day at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort and their sportsbook Ascend. And we want to send you to Comerica Park for opening day by texting Tigers to 21,000. Second hour of our program right around the corner. This hour has been brought to you by Ferris Coffee, the official coffee maker of the Detroit Lions.
Huge here for the Michigan High School Athletic Association. You can stay up to date on the latest from Lansing 24/7 at MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. The latest news, press releases, and stories connected to every high school in the state of Michigan, available for you 24/7 from the Michigan High School Athletic Association. Log on to MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. And if you're looking for archive boys and girls high school sports, MHSAA.TV. That's MHSAA.TV. 24/7, everything you need to know about high school sports in Michigan. Log on to MHSAA.com.
Friday, April 4th at Soaring Eagle Casino. Los Lobos and Los Lonely Boys. The Brotherhood Tour. Tickets start at $47 and are on sale now at the Soaring Eagle box office and etix.com. April 4th at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. East LA meets Texican. The Brotherhood Tour. Los Lobos and Los Lonely Boys. SoaringEagleCasino.com.
Huge here for Van Andel Institute Purple Community. Now, they're a grassroots fundraising network powered by the volunteers who support VAI's mission to improve health now and in the future. Learn more at purplecommunity.org.
The Freddie the Pizza Man Foundation is dedicated to providing support to families and Michigan schools touched by autism. We invite you to join us in supporting these families and schools by making a donation at freddythepizzaman.com. With your donation, you can help provide essential resources that can make a real impact. Visit freddythepizzaman.com to make a donation and to learn more about the foundation's mission. That's FREDI thepizzaman.com. Together, we can make a difference.
Hear that? That's the sound of saving a good deal more when you shop with MPerks at Meijer. Some delicious blueberries, money saved. A creamy treat of cookie dough ice cream, that's money saved. Savings, savings, savings. Because every dollar spent is also 10 points earned in MPerks, which you can use to save on your next grocery trip or up to $1 off per gallon on your next tank of gas. At Meijer, we work hard to help you save a good deal more for a whole lot less. That's bringing more good to life. Exclusions apply. See mperks.com for details.
Hey, Michigan, let's go big. I'm Herman Moore, Lions All-Pro wide receiver, and I'm talking real big-time winning on the hottest slots and table games on one incredible app, Eagle Casino and Sports.
Sign up now and get up to $1,500. That's right. We'll match your deposit for up to $1,500, and you'll get 100 free spins.
Eagle Casino and Sports. Made in Michigan, made for Michigan.
Must be 21 or older in Michigan to play.
What's up, Michigan? You're listening to Shep. Don't forget the huge show later today at 3 on the Michigan Sports Network.
Well, I'm not always right on these things. This might be a reach, but I'll say it anyway. One of the many things I despise is preseason rankings. I've told you that time and time again, right? I don't care if it's a conference. I don't care if it's a league, whatever. The preseason number one in college basketball this year was Kansas. Kansas ended up being a 7 seed, and Kansas is out in the first round of the NCAA tournament. Welcome back, X's and Bros, Monday through Friday, 6 until 9. Got through the entire hour talking college basketball and didn't give you an update of what's happening tonight. Pistons back to work on the road in Dallas. Detroit fresh off a last-second win in Miami, set to battle a Mavericks team that's dropped 4 straight, sits on the outside of the Western Conference playoffs. This is the time of year, I'm sure you do the same thing. This is the time of year where you're looking, because you've narrowed down the number of games you got going, I start looking at the scoreboard of other teams, not just of my team, but
scoreboard watching. Yeah.
So the Bucks were winners over the Lakers last night. Giannis Antetokounmpo had 28. The Pacers beat the Nets last night, 105-99. And the Knicks lost to the Hornets. I don't know if you were aware. But you can't follow everything. You got busy lives, for crying out loud. You know, you got a lot of things. You're taking your kids elsewhere. Shep, I don't have time to sit there and follow all. I don't blame you. I don't expect you to. That's the reason we're here. But now Detroit is a half game back of the 5 spot because they're 17.5 back at 39 up, 31 down. Milwaukee is 39-30. So they're the half game ahead of Detroit for the number 5 seed. And Indiana is 40-29. They are a full 1.5. And really, if you look at it, 2 games ahead of the Pistons. Knowing that, you've only got 13 games remaining. So the game against Dallas, I'm not going to try and convince you that every single game is a must win. But when you see the guys you're chasing for that spot, and I think it's important to get, that's just me. Yes, I'm getting greedy. They only won 14 games last year. You've got 39 wins. You should be happy. No, I'm not. I'm not happy.
Expectations change.
Absolutely.
And it's okay.
Don't tell me they don't, because your expectation is different now. The beginning of the season, what did you say? The expectation was, I just want Cade Cunningham to get through a season healthy. Trent, do you understand that? I just want him to be healthy. Wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't it be awesome if we had our best player all season long? What did I tell you yesterday? He's played in a career high games. 65 games he's played in a career high. Has it made a difference? You damn right it has. Now, I think it's made just as big a difference that they've got a new head coach, and just as big a difference that they've got perimeter players. But the expectation was that Cade Cunningham, not because now he qualifies for NBA postseason awards. I don't know what that postseason award would be, to be honest with you. But now he qualifies. Maybe it's second team All-NBA. Some people feel like he's first team All-NBA. Okay.
Either way, make an All-NBA team. You'll be the first Piston to do it since Blake Griffin.
Okay. What matters most to me is that he's healthy and he's able to, but my expectations are different now than they were at the beginning of the year. Before the season began, we handicapped him saying, I think this team will win somewhere in the neighborhood of 30, 35 wins, get 35 wins.
Double their win total, Shep.
They are better than we thought. And I think they're better than anybody. Outside their locker room, they're better than anybody thought. But your expectations now is don't stop there. This isn't you on the treadmill in the morning going, you know what, I just want to run 2 miles. What the hell? I'll keep going because I feel good. No, this is a situation where Cade Cunningham and the Pistons have a sincere opportunity to get a 4 seed. You recognize it, at least I hope you do. You recognize it, so you expect it. You expected last year, I know you thought highly of the Lions going into the season because we thought they'd go to the Super Bowl. Did you really think they'd go 15-2? But at some point during the season, you're like, you know what? And it was after Tampa. We're good enough to be the 1 seed. You wanted the 1 seed, didn't you? Absolutely. Last year, it changed for the Tigers. So much so that many people are using last year, even though it's a different team, last year into this year. That's how expectations change. So I think it's fair, too, that my expectations have changed, where I truly believe Detroit is good enough to be the 4 seed in the Eastern Conference. But Indiana, Milwaukee both won last night. New York lost. Indiana is 3 games back of the Knicks. That's a hard catch. But maybe they feel that's a possibility. Maybe they would say their expectations have changed a little bit and they can get it accomplished. Lions have re-signed cornerback Khalil Dorsey, primarily a special teams guy and a situational guy. These guys are important, folks. He may not be Terry Arnold. He may not be DJ Reed, but you've got to have bodies, capable bodies, know your system, know your players, know your coaches, know your role. It helps. And they've also welcoming defensive back Rock Yassin, who played 13 games in San Francisco last season, his 4th team in 4 years. He's played with the Colts, he's played with the Raiders, he played with the Ravens. Here's our poll question. It's the same one as yesterday, just with a different team. What's the MSU NCAA tournament ceiling? Is it Sweet 16? Is it Elite 8? Is it Final 4 or lose in the first weekend? I'm really anxious to hear in the 8 o'clock hour what the results were from yesterday's poll question regarding Michigan. So we'll get to that coming up. And there's really no right or wrong answer. It's how you feel. And all of them are still on the table for Michigan because at least they won last night, beating UC San Diego. We're going to talk with Bill Koch. He's a writer for the Providence Journal. He covers Bryant. He's going to join us at 8:18. Looking forward to that very much. He's going to give us an idea of what type of challenges Bryant can pose against Michigan State. Just because you write and cover a team doesn't mean you should automatically think the team is going to win. I hope he doesn't feel that way, but he can give us the reason Bryant might cause a headache for MSU. Personally, I don't think that's going to happen. I think Michigan State's going to run away with this. I think the way they're playing, not just the confidence, but it's the way they're playing. And I think their style, and I think it's adjustable, but I think their style is going to be exactly what it takes to win games, big games in the NCAA tournament. I hope I'm right. I do. I hope I'm right. I hope Purdue wins. I hope Wisconsin wins. I hope UCLA wins. I hope Oregon wins. I hope all these Big Ten teams win. Michigan State, I expect to saying it's easy is unfair. From a talk show host, it's unfair. But I firmly, that's how much I believe in MSU. So look at it that way. Anyway, we'll give you the results in the 8 o'clock hour coming up. When we come back, we're going to shift gears a little bit. Lions getting some post-free agency love and a suggestion by an adjustment in the NFL with the Lions behind it. We'll talk of that when we come back on X's and Bros. We're brought to you this hour by Meyer on the Michigan Sports Network.
Huge here for my good friends, the Godfather, Ronnie and Drew at Impact Power Sports. Now, they're located on 14 Mile Road in Rockford, just north of GR. They service the entire state, family-owned business. They've been in operation since 2015, and what they provide, custom golf carts, or you need a golf cart for your home, the lake house, business, and event, ATVs, UTVs, e-bikes, and also they have the best service team in Michigan when it comes to fixing your golf cart, your ATV, your UTV, and more. What you need to do is follow Impact Power Sports on Facebook and also stop by and see the Godfather and Drew at Impact Power Sports on 14 Mile Road in Rockford, just north of GR. Go see the Godfather and Drew today at Impact Power Sports.
Coming right at you, the excitement you've been waiting for. Eagle Casino and Sports. The mobile casino made in Michigan, made for Michigan. Play slots and table games with live dealers at one exciting site, playeagle.com. Sign up today and get a match deposit up to $1,500. That's right, up to $1,500 plus 100 free spins. Eagle Casino and Sports. Go to playeagle.com and start winning today. Must be 21 or older and in Michigan to play.
It's time to go on the court.
DraftKings Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app today and use code HUGE for a special offer when you sign up. That's code HUGE only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Trent Valley here. The four-letter network finally wised up and put the Pistons on primetime national television. And shocker, the Pistons handled it just fine. Just a couple nights removed from kicking the Pelicans' teeth in, the Pistons took on the Heat on Wednesday, and Cade Cunningham walked it off in the final second of the game with a top-of-the-arc three over Bam Adebayo. He may have banked it in, but the win-loss column doesn't care one bit about that, and Heat fans left their home arena with a league-leading ninth straight loss. Let alone the heroics, Cunningham also posted his ninth triple-double of the season, good for third in the NBA, tied with Domantas Sabonis and behind only Nikola Jokic and one LeBron James. They'll take on the Dallas Mavericks tonight.
Coming up later today at 3 on the Huge Show on the Michigan Sports Network, I'll deliver huge opinions on everything you're talking about.
The Freddie the Pizza Man Foundation is dedicated to providing support to families and Michigan schools touched by autism. We invite you to join us in supporting these families and schools by making a donation at freddythepizzaman.com. With your donation, you can help provide essential resources that can make a real impact. Visit freddythepizzaman.com to make a donation and to learn more about the foundation's mission. That's FREDI, thepizzaman.com. Together, we can make a difference.
You're listening to X's and Bros with Matt Shepard on the Michigan Sports Network. And if you missed any of today's show, be sure to check out our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere you find your podcasts to find the greatest hits from every day's show.
Now that free agency, for the most part, in the NFL is over, many people, how did my team do? It's more about the impact player you get than anything else. ESPN yesterday had a ranking of the team that had the best. Well, who got the A grades? They grade this stuff. We give them grades. We give them, certain decimals with numbers associated with them. They gave the Eagles re-upping with their linebacker, Zach Vaughn, as the number 1 grade. And that makes sense. He was an impact player for them last year. Really important cog. Many people thought he might leave, but Philly re-upped with him. The number 2 grade, the second best signing they felt, again, this is not gospel, they felt was the Titans signing Kevin Zeitler.
Nice.
I told you, this is the guy I think is valuable. Now, is he $9 million valuable? That's the question you got to ask. You don't just say, well, he's a guy I like, and he's a guy who plays a position that's really important and that's underrated. But is it a value price for him? Or are the Lions capable of filling that void? Now, obviously, they feel they're capable of filling the void. But even though he just turned 35, remember this, he did rank 6th in pass block win rate a year ago. He ranked 12th before in Baltimore, 11th before the season before that. So he had one of his best seasons last year. Doesn't mean he's always going to go up, but he was an important piece to the Lions' success. He will be missed. The number 3 grade they gave, the third best player they felt in free agency being signed, was DJ Reed by the Lions. They said almost every time they write about cornerbacks, they are compelled to include a note about the volatile position that it is. But Reed is 28. He's an exception, a consistent player year in and year out, underrated. Loved it when the Jets signed him 3 years ago. He loves the signing of Detroit. Here are Reed's yards allowed per coverage snap from 2022 to 2024. I mean, you're getting a guy in the prime of his career who is overshadowed by a bigger name. And now you get a chance for a guy to be the big name himself. It's not too uncommon to find this in football. Detroit's a pretty good example. How many people knew about Amon-Ra St. Brown? Not many. He becomes a bigger name. DJ Reed has the chance to do that. Here are the yards per coverage snap allowed. 0.6, 1.0, 0.8 respectively. 3 straight seasons better than average in the category relative to outside other corners. The average was 1.1. So back to his Seattle days, he's been better than average in 5 consecutive years. He averaged 13% target rate in his 3 years in New York. That is lower than the target rate against Sauce Gardner, a bigger name, right? So just wanted to let you know about that. Thought it was really important. They gave great high grades to Devontae Adams going to the Rams and others. But I thought that was interesting that Detroit's signing of DJ Reed, which I think for the most part, we didn't know as much about him as we should have until the Lions signed him. The Lions sign him, and suddenly it's, oh, man, who is this guy? I know Sauce Gardner with the Jets, but I don't know who this guy is.
And then fans, of course,
fans
I love this guy.
Now I know who he is. Now I really like him. Now I'm seeing the numbers associated with him. And look, it's not your job. The job of the media is to inform. That's what they're supposed to be doing. So I'm not blaming you. I'm just saying that's the way it works sometimes. We gravitate toward big name people. We do. I mean, it's common. Everybody does it. Look at what Trent said earlier. Oh, man, you've got Calipari against Self. Those are 2 big-name guys, right? Their teams aren't very good. You want to watch coaches. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
It makes the matchup worth watching.
I say Calipari against Rick Pitino. It's the same thing, all right? We look at it, we're like, I recognize that guy. I recognize that name. I recognize that school. I'm going to watch it. It happens. But then don't complain about why isn't my team getting any respect? Well, you're not getting any respect because you don't have that big name guy or your team hasn't been super great, over the years. The other thing that the Lions have done, which I think is fantastic, I really do. I think it's awesome. And I can't figure out why the NFL or teams in general, leagues in general, don't do this. The Lions have proposed a big-time NFL playoff seeding change that would really change everything. Okay, this is not small at all. What they're saying is a division winner in the conference with the best record would still receive the number 1 overall pick. But after that, teams would be stacked by records, regardless of whether they won their division or not.
I love that.
And I think it's bright.
Yes.
I think it's smart. I think it's something that should have been done a long time ago. And oftentimes when you hear these ideas that come up, and it doesn't mean, look, the committee, the NFL committee, the NFL owners have to vote on these things. Oftentimes, and I didn't know this, oftentimes it's really based off the competition committee. It's not one team saying, I think we should do this, that gets its way through the owners. It's usually the competition committee brings it to the owners, and the owners say, yeah, I like that idea, or I don't like that idea. How would that have changed things a year ago? Kansas City still would have been the 1 seed. Then it would have been Buffalo. Then it would have been Baltimore. I mean, it's not huge. There wasn't a huge difference. Detroit was the 1. Then it would have been Philadelphia. But here's where it changes a little bit. Then it would have been Washington. Washington would not have faced the Detroit Lions to start. It goes in order. The hard part about this is that it's not a balanced schedule. And you can't play a balanced schedule in football, right? But this is the hard part about it. What if look, don't tell me this wouldn't have benefited the Packers back in the days of the NFC North, early days of the NFC North, when the Lions stunk and the Bears stunk. This is going to benefit a team like somebody in the NFC South that isn't very good. I like the idea, but you do understand there's going to be somebody who benefits greatly because their division just isn't up to snuff as some of the other divisions. But I do think it makes sense. I think it makes a lot of sense. When you look at overall what this team should be doing or what this league should be doing, and you reward teams for winning, sorry, a team that goes under 500 or barely 500 wins its division should not be hosting a team that just won 13 or 14 games. Our phone number on the Meyer hotline is 866-838-4843. You can text the program Sports Radio to 21,000. Shifting gears even more so when we come back. But I do want to get into our Founders Six-Pack. This is where we just ask random questions to one another just so you can get to know us. It won't take long. After that, I do want to discuss the article in the Detroit News that I thought was pretty damn good. It was an interview with Al Avila. Now, it's a polarizing topic. There's a lot of people, and I understand why, that are just disgusted, don't like him, didn't think he should ever be there. Short memories, I think, and an unwillingness.
Oh, people love to cherry pick.
But the Baez thing, certain things stick with certain coaches, certain decisions stick with certain coaches, certain draft picks stick with certain general managers. I've said this forever. Joe Dumars, right away, here's what people say. Darko Milicic, okay? They don't bring up some of the other things that he's done really, really well in helping that team go to the Eastern Conference Finals on a regular basis or win a championship. They immediately go to Darko Milicic. It's the same thing with Al Avila. We'll explain when we come back. This is X's and Bros across the great state of Michigan. We're brought to you by Meyer and by Founders. Good beer for a Friday night, huh?
Rock legend Peter Frampton comes alive. Peter Frampton, the Let's Do It Again tour returns Saturday, April 19th to Soaring Eagle Casino. Tickets start at $73 and are on sale now at the box office or etix.com. Peter Frampton, April 19th at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. SoaringEagleCasino.com.
Huge here for my good friends at Insure It. Now, we know inflation is making everything expensive, including your auto insurance. But what if you could instantly compare rates and find big savings? At Insureit, they make shopping for auto insurance fast and easy. One call gets you multiple quotes. Call 231-COMPARE now or visit insure.it. That's 231-COMPARE or insure.it, where smart drivers shop, compare, and save. Insure.it. Save money now.
You're listening to X's and Bros with Matt Shepard on the Michigan Sports Network. And if you missed any of today's show, be sure to check out our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere you find your podcasts to find the greatest hits from every day's show.
Hear that? That's the sound of saving a good deal more when you shop with MPerks at Meijer. Some delicious blueberries, money saved. A creamy treat of cookie dough ice cream, that's money saved. Savings, savings, savings. Because every dollar spent is also 10 points earned in MPerks, which you can use to save on your next grocery trip or up to $1 off per gallon on your next tank of gas. At Meijer, we work hard to help you save a good deal more for a whole lot less. That's bringing more good to life. Exclusions apply. See mperks.com for details.
The Freddie the Pizza Man Foundation is dedicated to providing support to families and Michigan schools touched by autism. We invite you to join us in supporting these families and schools by making a donation at freddythepizzaman.com. With your donation, you can help provide essential resources that can make a real impact. Visit freddythepizzaman.com to make a donation and to learn more about the foundation's mission. That's FREDI thepizzaman.com. Together, we can make a difference.
What's up, Michigan? You're listening to my good friend Shep. The huge show is coming up later today at 3, right here on the Michigan Sports Network.
I want to get to the article in the Detroit News yesterday regarding Al Avila. We'll get to that coming up. Just real quick, I love getting in these rabbit holes on social media. Earlier this morning, I'm looking at a Twitter account called World Hockey Report, and it's got, I think it's a European hockey team, and it's a battle along the end boards, okay, or the sideboards. It's not. I don't think it's the end boards actually. I think it's the sidewall. And they're trying to pin the puck there. And a visiting team is up against the wall battling a home team member. So he's trying to pin it so he can get a face-off in the zone. And there's a guy, as a fan, banging on the glass, screaming at the guy, flipping him off while the visiting player is trying to pin it up against the sidewall. What does the visiting player do? He looks up and flips off the fan right back. And
you gotta love that.
And the line says, "That's hockey, baby." It's awesome. It is so cool. You got to check it out if you possibly can. All right. Every Friday we try to play. It's not always easy. Usually we do it at 8:18, but we have a guest today at 8:18. It is Bill Koch from the Providence Journal. He covers Bryant. He's going to give us an idea on whether or not Bryant can give Michigan State any headaches. So we've decided to move it. Today's Friday Six-Pack is brought to you by our friends at Founders. This is where anything outside of sports we chat about. And you can always jump in. The text line is Sports Radio 21000. Meyer hotline 866-838-4843. Are you a jewelry guy or not? Do you wear much jewelry at all? And I would consider watches jewelry.
Yeah, for sure. Jewelry is probably the primary thing for men. Or a watch, I should say, is the primary jewelry for men. I am not a big jewelry guy. I know you are, though, Shep. You like to wear a timepiece, don't you?
I do wear a timepiece. It's funny. With me, it's a little different. I wear a chain as well. Some people call them necklaces. I think necklaces are for women. But it has two things on the end of it. One is the St. Christopher medal that used to be my father's, so that's important to me. And the other is a cross that my wife gave me early in our relationship. But I'll wear, if I'm wearing suits, absolutely wear a stylish watch, and a bracelet used to be my father's. And then if I'm going out and it's just a casual, I'll wear a leather-bound watch. I only have two watches. Really, I want another one, but I only have two. So that's basically it. That's basically it for my jewelry. You don't wear it ever? Like if you go to a wedding, I'm going to a wedding tomorrow. You wouldn't wear any jewelry at all? No,
I mean, right now I'm wearing a chain, to use your terminology, which I also agree with, by the way. But so I have things. I just don't. I'm not super particular about them in the way that I could be.
Yeah, I don't think young people do that. None of my boys really. None of them wear watches. I can always tell time on my phone, Dad. Well, that's not really what it's about. It's
not the point.
Look. Only one of them wears a bracelet, but he wears it all the time. He never takes it off. Whereas mine is more decorative and, well, it's a little bit more expensive than his, but he'll wear his when he lifts every day, works out every day. He wears it even then. He just never takes it off. All right. So that's the first of my six-pack. What do you got for your first question of the day?
Also very cool that your jewelry has meaning, by the way. My question for you. I know you're a proud Central Michigan University alum. Who's a mid-major, in the spirit of March Madness, who's a mid-major that you have a soft spot for besides CMU? Could be for school reasons, could be for sports reasons.
Eastern Michigan. Yeah, because I started there, tried to play ball there. Like a lot of people there, they're good people, close with a lot of people there. So the soft spot would be EMU for sure. Do you have a soft spot? Do you have a soft spot for another Big Ten school?
Gosh, that's a great question. Yeah, I guess I would say I like Illinois. I know there's connections
against them in the NCAA tournament. What are you talking about?
Hey, You like to always say, take your emotion out of it. You should be proud of me. Usually I'd be like, Illinois is going to the Final Four.
What is it you like about Illinois? What have they done in the past to make you go, yeah, I kind of like that school?
Well, so when I was a student broadcaster at Michigan State, I had zero expectations when we went to cover the Michigan State men's basketball game at Illinois. And I ended up having one of the best times I've ever had in Champaign. I loved it. I had, like I said, I had no expectations. So I just was blown away by how much fun we had, how fun the bars were, how cool the city is in a weird way. You know, Madison's very cool, very pretty, all that stuff. But you go to Champaign, you're not expecting anything, and I had a great time. So Illinois, if any.
Not much in Champaign
at all. Not much at all. They love their Illini. So there you go. That's my first question in the six pack presented by Founders Brewing.
All right. Dog or cat?
Dog for sure, although I'm allergic to both, but I do love both. If that makes any sense.
Not a cat guy. Never have been. We've got two Goldens. Matter of fact, Cooper's right here with me. Oftentimes in between breaks, just to get up and walk around a little bit, I'll putt. And I can't because he runs over and grabs every golf ball that I have when I start putting. He'll drop one to grab the other, and I never get a chance to see if that golf ball goes in the hole. All right. How about you? What's number 2 for you?
Well, it's funny you asked that because piggybacking on that, if you didn't have golden retrievers, what dog breed would you have?
German Shepherd. That's what I wanted.
Have you had German Shepherds in the past?
No, but it's what I wanted. And my wife is like, they scare me too much. What do you mean they scare you? Yeah, they scare me too much.
They're too smart.
So yeah, Goldens are pretty smart too. I don't know if Cooper necessarily is. Cooper, you smart? He's just out.
He's looking at you.
So I don't know if I'd go that far. Favorite topping on a pizza?
Okay, so pepperoni's obviously the cop out. I would say
so. Fridays or Saturdays are pizza nights. Usually,
yes,
right. I mean, is that fair to say?
For sure.
That's where most of, if it's not Super Bowl, that's where most of their business goes to. So we're having some people over tonight. We're going to get a couple of pies, and my wife's like, I think one will do the all mushroom. I said, oh, mushroom? What are you talking about?
What is wrong with you?
What is it? She only, she doesn't eat red meat. I love meat lovers.
Me too.
If you had to have one topping besides
bacon for me. Bacon. I think bacon is the underrated cherry on top, so to speak, for the meat lovers because obviously pepperoni's the staple. Sausage is like the biggest. Yeah, and that's Italian very sausage. Good too. But that bacon, without that, you'll notice it if it's not there.
I would tell you this. If you had to have one meat and one vegetable, for me, it would be, in all likelihood, Italian sausage and green pepper.
Okay, so I go banana pepper, like the yellow one. But I'm with you on that.
Yeah, that's good too. All right, last one from the Friday six-pack brought to you by Founders.
What's your favorite city out west? I went to a bachelor party last weekend in Phoenix. I loved it. It was my first time out in Phoenix. Yeah, but what's your favefavorite? It is Phoenix. Is yours too?
That's a tough one. Phoenix and Scottsdale are really great, which they're right next to one another. A lot of people say San Antonio outside of the boardwalk there, the waterway.
What is there to do?
There's not much there. Dallas is really cool. All right. I'll tell you an underrated place. Salt Lake City is really nice. I think that's underrated, but I would probably say Phoenix. Yeah, that would be there's, you can drive to Sedona. I mean, there are so many beautiful places out west. So yeah, that's where I would go. All right. That's today's Founders six pack brought to you by our friends at Founders. Pretty insightful interview in the Detroit News with ex-Tiger GM Al Avila. It's his first sit down. It's his first time to talk about anything since he was let go by the Tigers. And one of the things that stood out the most was the fact that the Tigers had noticed red flags about Javier Baez's decline. Now, as you know, he signed a 6-year, $140 million contract at the age of 28. Many people today will say, oh man, you got to get out of that. Here's what you got to do. You've got to just buy it out. There's a couple of different philosophies there. And I understand both sides of it. One is what's left of his contract. What is it? 73 or $83 million? I think it's $83 million. Are you going to spend? It's easy for me to say, get out of it. It's not my millions and millions of dollars. So you could understand why somebody would say, sorry, I'm not paying a guy on my payroll and he doesn't work for me, especially that kind of money. On the other hand, because it's not like the money's gone and then you're just going to replenish it. It still hits you. On the other hand, there's a part of me that says really good management in anything in life, decide when to cut your losses. The troubling part of the interview is that Al Avila said this, quote, "We knew the swing and miss was there." Look, everybody knew that, okay? That's not troubling. You knew what you were getting. I remember having a conversation with somebody within the Tigers at the time, and they said to me, "I'm really excited about the off-season shortstop we're going to sign." And I said, "Who do you think you're going to sign?" And they said, "Well, not exactly sure. The hope is Correa, but we're going to get one of them." And my immediate response to them in so many words was, you got to get the right guy, not just a guy. The most important thing, it's the same thing in drafting, guys. The most important thing is not filling the void. It's filling the void with the right player. In case you had forgotten, during that free agent time, it was Carlos, in no particular order, Carlos Correa, Corey Seager, Marcus Semien, who was a second baseman, but was playing some short with Toronto. It was Trevor Story, and it was Javier Baez. And I remember thinking, I wanted Correa one. Actually, I wanted Marcus Semien, but I wanted him to play second base. I didn't think he was a true shortstop. So I would say Correa one. I wanted Trevor Story two. Baez would have been my last choice, but I wouldn't have gotten a guy just for the sake of getting him. It's the same thing in an NFL draft. We need a quarterback. Let's draft one, but not if he's not the right guy. Free agency isn't much different, I don't believe. Javier Baez had a lot of swing and miss. You and I both knew that going into, but everybody felt like, oh my God, I can't take Ryan Rayburn or the equivalent of Ryan Rayburn at shortstop anymore. So I've got to have somebody. Okay. So they go and they sign him. Avila said, we knew that. Even my analyst was telling me there's regression there, but nobody could have predicted falling off a cliff the way he did. At 28 years old, you're not going to have a perfect rise and maintain. We felt there was going to be some regression, but never expected him to fall off that far. This was a team that was searching for something, in desperate need. Remember, later they signed Eduardo Rodriguez. He opted out. Everybody complained about it, and he ended up going. I'm not saying you should have kept Nico Goodrum. You should have kept Zach Short. You should have kept pigeonholed Willie Castro and from being a utility guy to a shortstop. Harold Castro was never going to be a shortstop. He was a second baseman, a little bit of an outfielder, good contact guy, left side, but a utility guy. They didn't have a starter. They didn't have a guy day in and day out you want at that position. So they forced it. And look at what's happened. That's bad management. Now, I have, to a certain extent, stuck up for Al Avila last year. It was unpopular. I don't care. When you say how good the Tigers were last year at the end of the season, you forget that Riley Green, Al Avila guy. Parker Meadows, Al Avila guy. Kerry Carpenter, Al Avila guy. Jake Rogers, Al Avila guy. Tarek Skubal, Al Avila guy. Again, should have been let go, was the right thing to do. But just because he screwed up the Baez thing didn't mean he didn't do anything else right. Cole Keith, Al Avila guy. Most of the guys on that team that ended up winning late were Al Avila men. Not Matt Vierling, not Zach McKinstry, not Andy Ibanez, but most of them were. Shop, I really like Reese Olson, Al Avila guy. So just understand that aspect of it. People will forever remember him for that. You remember draft picks that Matt Millen made who stunk. Akika Lama-Francis, Brian Calhoun. We could go on and on and on. It's not the same comparison, unfortunately. But what I'm saying to you is you remember the bad about those guys. Unless you actually win, unless you do something right. Jim Campbell, what a brilliant man. Bill LaJoy, what a brilliant man. Bill LaJoy, a brilliant man because they won a championship in 1984. Okay. Jack McCloskey, a brilliant guy because they won championships. You don't remember the bad draft picks with guys who win it all. But you are stuck and married to the guys who are really bad because you didn't win it all. Our phone number on the Meyer hotline is 866-838-4843. We go back to the phones. Who's up on a Thursday or on a Friday, rather?
It's our buddy Freddie. He has what he calls a random sports question for you.
Freddie, good morning to you. How are you, buddy?
Hey, good morning, Shep. I don't want to mess up your mojo with Al Vila. I'm glad you brought it up. I got to tell you, I'm just a random fan. No one took more arrows than me when it comes to Al Vila the last 5 years on Twitter. I defended that guy over and over and over, and I got shot down with so many arrows, but I don't really care anyways. But
you know why? Because you're not going to change. I've said this forever. You're not going to change people's minds. You're not saying he's the best GM. I mean, you're not saying he should stay as the GM, but you can give him credit for some of the things that he's done right. You're not going to convince people that he did anything right when they were nothing but losing seasons. That's the problem.
Bingo. And that's bingo. And that's the problem with sports in general nowadays. Everyone thinks about now, they forget about the past.
Correct.
It's everything is great now.
Yeah.
That pisses me off. But anyways, two things. You were asking random questions, and real quick, you wonder why Trent doesn't wear jewelry. Do you listen to his bets every day? He probably has no money left. But
that's good, Freddie.
I bet the opposite, and I don't have to make pizza for like 3 weeks. So Shep, I want to ask you really quick. I know you're up against it. I was watching ESPN last night. I watched a little bit of the tournament, but it has a sports. This is really random. I'm sorry. Has a sports ticker on the bottom of ESPN ruin sports. I hate that sports sticker. I remember when it came out. It's like being at a restaurant with a hot girl and 7 other hot girls walk in and you're staring at them. I don't get it. I hate it.
I agree with you 100%. It takes. This is my fault though. It takes my attention away sometimes, and it shouldn't.
Yeah.
But I understand why they do it. I just don't necessarily like it. And I've got to be more disciplined in not paying attention to it. It's really hard not to. And that's our attention spans these days. I got to hit a break, but it's a really good point. Thanks, Freddie. Have a great weekend. All the best to you and the kids and everything else. When we come back, we'll give you the results of the final poll question from yesterday. Don't forget, Bill Koch from the Providence Journal will join us 8:18 here on X's and Bros. This hour proudly brought to you by Meyer.
It's time to go on the court.
DraftKings Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app today and use code HUGE for a special offer when you sign up. That's code HUGE only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Trent Valley here. The 4-letter network finally wised up and put the Pistons on primetime national television. And shocker, the Pistons handled it just fine. Just a couple nights removed from kicking the Pelicans' teeth in, the Pistons took on the Heat on Wednesday, and Cade Cunningham walked it off in the final second of the game with a top-of-the-arc 3 over Bam Adebayo. He may have banked it in, but the win-loss column doesn't care one bit about that, and Heat fans left their home arena with the league-leading 9th straight loss. Let alone the heroics, Cunningham also posted his 9th triple-double of the season, good for 3rd in the NBA, tied with Domantas Sabonis, and behind only Nikola Jokic and one LeBron James. They'll take on the Dallas Mavericks tonight.
Huge here for my good friends, the Godfather, Ronnie and Drew at Impact Power Sports. Now, they're located on 14 Mile Road in Rockford, just north of GR. They service the entire state, family-owned business. They've been in operation since 2015, and what they provide, custom golf carts, or you need a golf cart for your home, the lake house, business and event, ATVs, UTVs, e-bikes, and also they have the best service team in Michigan when it comes to fixing your golf cart, your ATV, your UTV, and more. What you need to do is follow Impact Power Sports on Facebook and also stop by and see the Godfather and Drew at Impact Power Sports on 14 Mile Road in Rockford, just north of GR. Go see the Godfather and Drew today at Impact Power Sports.
Hey, Michigan, let's go big. I'm Herman Moore, Lions All-Pro wide receiver, and I'm talking real big-time winning on the hottest slots and table games on one incredible app, Eagle Casino and Sports.
Sign up now and get up to $1,500. That's right. We'll match your deposit for up to $1,500, and you'll get 100 free spins.
Eagle Casino and Sports. Made in Michigan, made for Michigan.
Must be 21 or older and in Michigan to play.
The Freddie the Pizza Man Foundation is dedicated to providing support to families and Michigan schools touched by autism. We invite you to join us in supporting these families and schools by making a donation at FreddieThePizzaMan.com. With your donation, you can help provide essential resources that can make a real impact. Visit FreddieThePizzaMan.com to make a donation and to learn more about the foundation's mission. That's FREDI, thepizzaman.com. Together, we can make a difference.
Friday, April 4th at Soaring Eagle Casino. Los Lobos and Los Lonely Boys. The Brotherhood Tour. Tickets start at $47 and are on sale now at the Soaring Eagle box office and etix.com. April 4th at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. East LA meets Texican. The Brotherhood Tour. Los Lobos and Los Lonely Boys. SoaringEagleCasino.com.
When you punch us back, we're going to smile at you. And when you knock us down, we're going to get up. And on the way up, we're going to bite a kneecap off.
Home run! Home run! He hit it a mile! Let's give them the keys to the Hall of Fame, but not tonight. Tonight they are in the Stanley Cup. Steve Eiserman, come get it.
It feels like heaven. Heaven must be lying.
I got one question for you, Michigan Nation. Who's got it better than us?
Right center field. That's got carry. It's gone. Number 500 and history for Miguel Cabrera.
Touchdown, Detroit Lions. Yes. This game is over. Let's put the game. They score.
Red Wings win.
Detroit basketball.
Yeah, final hour of the program. Glad you're with us. 8:18. We will be joined by Bill Koch, who is the writer for the Providence Journal and covers Bryant. Just to piggyback off what Freddie had just said prior to the break, because it's really interesting. It really is. I mean, the Al Avila disgust, disdain, hate, borderline hate for him in this town is, I think, a little misguided. Again, if you try to stick up for a guy like that, immediately people think, oh, you're a big fan. You think he should still be general manager. Never said that. Never. Just telling you about some of the things, not enough, but some of the things that he did well. I ask you this. Trent's too young, but I'll have this discussion. Jimmy Devellano, general manager, Red Wings, 4 cups, 11 years. Positive or negative? Absolutely positive. There's no doubt about that, right? People think, and rightfully so, you draft Steve Eiserman, 4th overall, number 1 in the first round, 4th overall in 1983. Everybody loves that draft, right? That same draft, he got Joe Koser, he got Peter Klima, he got Bob Probert, sure. He also got Lane Lambert. But people forget that he took Murray Craven, his first draft class, I believe, 1982, he took Murray Craven. He also took, a little bit later on, Brent Fedek with a first-round pick, 8th overall. He took Joe Murphy from Michigan State with the first overall pick in 1986. Not everything is fair and on the money and correct by great general manager. Jack McCloskey, he built the bad boy Pistons. More good than bad, without a doubt. He became their general manager in 1979. Greg Kelser was their first round pick. It wasn't Sidney Moncrief. It was Greg Kelser. He took Larry Drew with a first round pick. Sure, he took Isaiah Thomas and Kelly Tripucka in the first round in 1981, but he also took Cliff Levingston and Antoine Carr and Tony Campbell. Those are draft picks that he made as well. He won. The difference between those guys and somebody like Al Avila, well, those guys are better general managers, period. Exclamation point, write it in caps, bold it, highlight it, underline it, put it in italics, anything that you want to say that makes it different than Al Avila, do that, because they are. I'm just telling you, even the greatest in our city anyway, considered the greatest, make mistakes. We don't remember them. Why? Because either A, they were able to overcome them, B, they cut bait, or C, they won despite them.
Do you think Detroit fans are unique in that regard? Because I kind of do.
I don't.
I think Detroit fans in particular are extremely over-emotional. I don't think it's a bad thing at all. But I think you just laid it out beautifully. I think people will – you could have 5 losing seasons and hang on to your job, and then you win 1 cup or 1 title, and all of a sudden people are only going to remember that. I think most of the fan base, at least.
So. I think most places, most cities, That's exactly how they feel. They'll remember the really good picks if you win, and they'll remember the diamonds in the rough. How many people had heard of Joe Dumars coming out of McNeese State? Be honest.
Moving on in the tournament, by the way.
How many
Cowboys.
How many people really know? Nobody knew. When Detroit drafted him 18th overall in 1985, they're like, who the hell is Joe Dumars? But you know what? He turned into be a Hall of Fame player, and thus people feel like, you know what? That's the guy. You made that pick. Sometimes it only takes one bad pick, and sometimes it only takes one really good pick or one really good move for you to go, okay, let's localize it, but to modern day. What changed your mind? Is there a pick that changed your mind about Brad Holmes?
I think this is probably a cop-out answer. It was the first pick he made. It was Penei Sewell. Everyone was on board from the jump, and because Penei Sewell's been great.
I think it's Jahmyr Gibbs. And the reason it's Jahmyr Gibbs is because he was what I don't know one person, not one, who said great pick.
In the moment, yeah, people were pissed.
He turns into be the type of player he is right now, and people are like, you know what? I got to give credit where credit is due. He's the guy. People felt like, I'm generalizing here, but people felt like running backs aren't as important as they used to be. At the time you came out and everybody thought he was the best tackle in the draft and people had him that high. How many analysts on draft night a few years ago said, why are you doing this? How do you draft? What was he, 12th overall? How are you moving up to get a guy like this? Running backs aren't as important anymore. And look at how good he has been. That was a difference maker. Now, there are other players, Brian Branch, for example, and other draft picks that have worked out really well. He's a really good general manager. You remember that draft pick primarily because you didn't think it was good. Analysts didn't think it was good, but Brad Holmes told everybody without saying it out loud, I know more than you do. Watch this. There are draft picks like that. Unfortunately, for a lot of GMs, there are draft picks that go the other way too. Hi, Bob Quinn. How you doing?
Yikes.
Nice to meet you. I've watched more on this guy than anybody else. That's why we took him, and he's a bust.
But to your point, though, Shep, he picked Frank Ragnow. He picked Taylor Decker. He had hits, but you remember the misses because he was
That's what people remember.
The end was terrible.
The New England Patriots oftentimes are viewed as the team, right? Everybody wants to be like the New England Patriots. Look at how good they are. Look at how consistent they are. I get it. I do. You understand, though, that they've made some really bad picks. N'Keal Harry, for example, in the first round as a wide receiver. Who? Exactly. Cole Strange as an offensive lineman in the first round. Who? Exactly. Players are being drafted all the time by different organizations, good and bad, and they're not working out. How many times are you remembering them? That's the big question. Not very much if your team is winning, but all the time if your team isn't successful. Quickly, the results of yesterday's poll question, because at 8:18, we've got Bill Koch from the Providence Journal. Yesterday's poll question, we asked you what the Michigan NCAA tournament ceiling was. What was the result?
43% say Sweet 16. That's what won the poll. 19% Elite Eight, 20% first weekend loss, 18% Final Four.
Right, so Sweet 16. We got the same question for Michigan State here today. Vote as often as you like at XB Mornings. Real quick, the daily wager was yesterday, and what do you got today?
Yesterday we had Michigan, UC San Diego over 152.5. Didn't even come close. We are on a terrible run here. People have enough at stake with March Madness. I'll go to the Pistons. Pistons money line. They're 8.5-point favorites tonight at Dallas. Dallas is on a schneid since trading Luka Doncic. Pistons win tonight.
Bill Koch from the Providence Journal joins us to talk Bryant basketball and what you can expect against MSU tonight after this.
Huge here for the Michigan High School Athletic Association. You can stay up to date on the latest from Lansing 24/7 at MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. The latest news, press releases, and stories connected to every high school in the state of Michigan, available for you 24/7 from the Michigan High School Athletic Association. Log on to MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. And if you're looking for archive, boys and girls, high school sports, MHSAA.TV. That's MHSAA.TV. 24/7, everything you need to know about high school sports in Michigan. Log on to MHSAA.com.
Rock legend Peter Frampton comes alive. Peter Frampton, the Let's Do It Again tour returns Saturday, April 19th to Soaring Eagle Casino. Tickets start at $73 and are on sale now at the box office or etix.com.
Ooh, baby, I love your way.
Peter Frampton, April 19th at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort.
Show me the way.
SoaringEagleCasino.com.
Hear that? That's the sound of saving a good deal more when you shop with MPerks at Meijer. Some delicious blueberries, money saved. A creamy treat of cookie dough ice cream, that's money saved. Savings, savings, savings. Because every dollar spent is also 10 points earned in MPerks, which you can use to save on your next grocery trip or up to $1 off per gallon on your next tank of gas. At Meijer, we work hard to help you save a good deal more for a whole lot less. That's bringing more good to life. Exclusions apply. See MPerks.com for details.
You're listening to X's and Bros with Matt Shepard on the Michigan Sports Network. And if you missed any of today's show, be sure to check out our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere you find your podcasts to find the greatest hits from every day's show.
What's interesting, you would think great players make a difference, and I would say most oftentimes it doesn't. I saw some numbers yesterday that the Suns, when Bradley Beal is not playing, they are 7th in offensive rebounding, or 7th in offensive rating at 116.2. They are 12th in defensive rating, and they are 9th in net rating. They are 10-3 when Kevin Durant and Devin Booker play together without Bradley Beal. How about that? One guy can make a difference in winning, for sure. One guy can make a difference in losing, it seems like, depending on the chemistry and the team that he's with. Welcome back. X's and Bros, Monday through Friday from 6 until 9 throughout the state of Michigan. The Meyer hotline, 866-838-4843. The text line is Sports Radio 21,000. We're hoping to pick it up with Bill Koch from the Providence Journal. He covers Bryant. And, of course, Bryant plays Michigan State tonight in Cleveland. In case you missed it, Michigan overcame 14 turnovers to turn back UC San Diego 68-65. Every Michigan starter had at least 2 turnovers, but they held the Tritons to 39%. We saw plenty. Well, I wouldn't say plenty, but we saw a few upsets yesterday. Bill Koch is a guy who writes for the Providence Journal, and he covers Bryant on a regular basis, and he's ready to watch Michigan State and Bryant tangle a little bit later on today, and he joins us here on X's and Bros. Bill, appreciate the time very much. I know it's valuable. All the best to you and your family. How would you describe Bryant to people who don't know enough about them?
Experienced, competitive, I would say connected as well in terms of the way they play, because it's not a deep rotation. They're an interesting team, and you always wonder when a team dominates a lower league like the America East, how they'll project against a bigger team, a team from a bigger league like the Big Ten. We're all going to find out together tonight.
Mm-hmm. What are their strengths and what are their weaknesses? Where are they vulnerable, do you think? How have you noticed that this year from them?
Good team around the rim, good shot blocking team. They also avoid getting their shots blocked. An old team, top 50 in experience in the country. I would say if you had to pull some weaknesses, they don't have a pure point guard. And I always wondered what might happen if they played a team that sort of heated them up a little bit, pressured them or trapped them or, extended either in the half court or just over the half court. Because the last non-conference game they played was Grand Canyon on the road. They had 23 turnovers in that game, and it was a night where Grand Canyon sort of menaced them all over the floor, and they couldn't really do much. So that's a definite weakness for them. But in terms of strengths, age, experience, connectivity, they've got a lot of what you would expect from, the sort of low major who wins their conference and comes into the NCAA tournament.
How would you describe the closest team they have played this year to what they're about to experience against Michigan State? Which team would that be, and how do you think they fared against what that team did best?
Well, they played two, fairly high-profile non-conference games against St. John's and Grand Canyon, and lost both. St. John's, they were competitive for about 25, 30 minutes and fell away at the end. Grand Canyon, they didn't really have a chance from the start. They just threw the ball away too much. If you're going to play against a St. John's team, they do have similarities to Michigan State culturally. They're just relentless. They defend. They're very well coached by Hall of Famer. So I would say something similar to that. Just maybe from a character traits perspective. I'm not even going to talk about style of play or. Do we play zone or do we try to run or whatever else? It's more along the lines of, Michigan State and St. John's are two of the most relentless teams in the country. So they're going to run into that for the first time in a while tonight.
Bill, I've said this for a long time. I think expectations change for people in general when a team does something. What was the expectation before the year for Bryant? And if it's exceeded it, when do you think it changed, if at all?
Yeah, good question. One of the players actually over the weekend said, we weren't even picked to win our league in America East, and they were not the preseason favorite. So you sort of, you take that on board and you look at it and you think, okay, these guys remember, they're looking at a preseason poll, which really doesn't mean anything, but whatever you need to have a chip on your shoulder, that's what they use throughout the conference season. And then going forward from there, they've played some competitive games in the non-conference. This year, unlike years past, they just didn't happen to go their way. But they've done a really good job of turning the page, since about January or so, and they've had a really nice season.
You've mentioned the Bulldogs aren't real deep. Michigan State is arguably the deepest team in the country, definitely one of the deepest teams in the NCAA tournament. How much of a factor do you think that will be tonight? And kind of piggybacking off the expectations, what are your expectations for the Bulldogs tonight?
Well, if Michigan State wants to crank it up at both ends, if they want to force pace, if particularly defensively, that could be a factor, certainly. You take away Bryant's legs and all of a sudden you're scoring in transition and the game is easy. That's definitely what you would say to a 10 or 11 man rotation. Hey, just go out there and play as hard as you can, and eventually we'll wear them down. And you would think that Michigan State being who they are, Tom Izzo being who he is, that they're going to be focused and ready. I think Bryant, it's critical the first 2 or 3 media timeout segments just to be in contact. Because the nature of these games when you're the underdog is the longer you can hang around, the better chance you have to steal it at the end. You're not the better team. But in a given night, you might be. You just need to give yourself a chance to be.
They average they average like 82 points per game. But again, the defense from Michigan State, maybe that varies. Do you think they have to outscore Michigan State, or is it a half-court game in which Bryant feels like it can be most competitive? How do you feel about that?
Bryant plans on getting up and down. They're a top 10 tempo team in the country, according to Ken Pom. It's an interesting strategy if they actually are going to do that against a team who theoretically has better players and plays a similar style. But I guess we'll all find out together.
17.5 points. That's the betting line for Vegas. MSU favored by 17.5. Are you going with Bryant to cover or Michigan State in a blowout?
I think Bryant's a little better than Omaha, but as we saw last night, St. John's would have covered 17.5 against Omaha. I think you always have to go with the favorite in games like these. Whenever you have the 1s and 2 seeds, they've proven it over 5 months. And they generally have a certain sort of pedigree about them. It's a lightning strike when they lose. So I guess you would have to go with the favorite in scenarios like this.
It's good perspective. We appreciate it, Bill. Thanks for getting up early this morning. Have a great weekend and keep up the good work. Thanks for your time today.
All right, guys. Thank you.
You bet. That's Bill Koch of the Providence Journal joining us from a Bryant perspective. When we come back, we'll take your texts at Sports Radio to 21,000. Meyer Hotline is open for you, 866-838-4843. If you want to stick with basketball, it's there for you. If not, we'll dive into some pitching in Major League Baseball and maybe a bit of a surprise of where a national publication has one of the key figures in the Tigers rotation. That's next on X's and Bros, brought to you by Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort.
Huge here for the Michigan High School Athletic Association. You can stay up to date on the latest from Lansing 24/7 at MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. The latest news, press releases, and stories connected to every high school in the state of Michigan, available for you 24/7 from the Michigan High School Athletic Association. Log on to MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. And if you're looking for archive, boys and girls, high school sports, MHSAA.TV. That's MHSAA.TV. 24/7, everything you need to know about high school sports in Michigan. Log on to MHSAA.com.
The Freddie the Pizza Man Foundation is dedicated to providing support to families and Michigan schools touched by autism. We invite you to join us in supporting these families and schools by making a donation at freddythepizzaman.com. With your donation, you can help provide essential resources that can make a real impact. Visit freddythepizzaman.com to make a donation and to learn more about the foundation's mission. That's FREDI thepizzaman.com. Together, we can make a difference.
Coming up later today at 3 on the Huge Show on the Michigan Sports Network, I'll deliver huge opinions on everything you're talking about.
All right, 25 after the hour. We appreciate Bill Kosh from the Providence Journal coming on. Sure sounded like he didn't think there was any shot in hell that Brian has any chance tonight.
Realistic view, like he was like to
good
say,
for him.
60,000-foot view or whatever it is, looking at Michigan State. And I love how he compared them to St. John's because the two teams are very similar stylistically.
Yes, I mean, I'm just it's refreshing to hear somebody not get caught up in the fanboy stuff, and they're going to be a Cinderella. The way it's supposed to be in the media. You're supposed to be able to separate who you want and who you think is just better. And he covers that team on a regular basis. He knows their flaws. Don't know how much he's seen MSU. We don't look at it. I can tell you this. I do not look at this as any fan of Tom Izzo or fan of any one particular player or any fan of one particular school or anything else. Or my daughter goes there. No, I look at it realistically on how good that team is compared to another. Now, the interesting thing about the NCAA tournament, I feel with people and their predictions, sometimes it's just a feeling. Sometimes, I'm not going to try to be this smart guy and say, you know what, McNeese State, if you would have done your research, you would have done just like me and picked them against Clemson. No, bullcrap. Sometimes you just pick upsets for the sake of being a guy who says there's going to be some upsets in this.
You got to have some.
Okay? You're not going chalk the entire time. Some people just go chalk. I mean, there's very few upsets. If you looked at Jay Billis's, Jay Billis knows as much about college basketball as anybody else in the country. He might have had maybe 2 upsets in the first round, I think. So look at his bracket. So I'm not saying that, you've got to do your homework. You don't have time for all that stuff, right? But there are so many times where we end up voting or picking a team that we're familiar with or a team we don't like. God dang it. You know what? They ruined this for my team back in, 2018. So because they did that, I'm not picking them. Boy, you really showed them, didn't you? It's just a ridiculous mindset on why you want to do something. It's not, you're only hurting yourself. Do what you think is best, but try to take the emotion out of it. I take Michigan State because they're the better team. They play a style that translates into this tournament that I think can allow them to go far. If all these people keep telling me they can't shoot the 3, fair enough. I'm not going to disagree with you. They shot it a little bit better over the last week and a half, 2 weeks.
End of the season.
But I would say this. If you think something translates to overcome your weakness, then you're going to be okay. You can understand. Now, I don't think you can do it on a regular basis, but if you're not shooting the 3, but you defend like a son of a gun and you rebound like a mother and all these other things, then you're going to be able to stay at least in the game. And I'm not even referring to tonight against Bryant because, like I've said before, I think they're going to smoke them. But later on down the road, those characteristics, those types of traits, those types of buy-ins are going to allow you to stay in games, whereas teams that strictly rely on the 3, Creighton, Drake, BYU, teams like that, if all you're doing is saying, you know what, we're a 3-point shooting team, we're going to keep shooting them, and your shot is off, you could be in for a long night. That's not the case with Michigan State. All right, let me pivot here. Major League Baseball. Read something in The Athletic the other day that caught my attention. What they were looking for is the this is not a writer's opinion. This is MLB insiders ranking the starting pitchers. Who are just guys and who are number ones, true number ones. We had this conversation. The reason I wanted to read this article is because you and I had this conversation weeks ago. What's the difference between just a number 1 and an ace? I think there is a difference. I think there's a big difference. The ace is the guy who comes in and shuts your other team down. You are not doing that against this team. Cole Reagans is a number 1. Is he an ace? No. It's kind of like the word great. Oh, what a great game. Was it really a great game? Or was it a really good game? We've just throw the word around like it's no problem. If you're going to say that Tarek Skubal, who you and I would both admit is an absolute ace, Zach Wheeler is an absolute ace, Corbin Burns is an ace, Paul Skeens, it might be early, but people feel like he's an absolute ace. Do you think they're the same as Cole Reagan's? That's why I think there's a difference. I mean, I'm sure I get too deep into weeds. I get into the weeds too much where it's like, oh, come on, give me a break. Don't take everything so literal. I take the word great, I take the word ace literal. I don't think I don't even know if Chris Sale is an ace anymore. But last year he won the Triple Crown. So if you said to me, hold on a second, how does a guy win the Triple Crown? He wins the Cy Young, he wins the Triple Crown. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. How is he not an ace? But the guy who won the American League Triple Crown, won the Cy Young Award, and he is. Give me a break. That's a fair argument, for sure. Little bit of a wild card last year. When he's right, he's incredible. Body breaks down a little bit. Maybe I'm reaching a little bit in that regard. But I don't think there are many aces in Major League Baseball. And you can disagree with me all you want. I'd like to know who you would consider an ace and who you would not consider an ace. I like Aaron Nola a lot. I think he's a really good pitcher. I think Logan Gilbert is a really good pitcher. I don't think they're aces. I think they're ones, but I don't think they're aces. George Kirby, Max Fried, those guys are really good pitchers. Logan Webb, another guy, really good pitchers. I don't think they're aces. They're not Justin Verlander of the past, Max Scherzer of the past, Clayton Kershaw of the past. Those guys, to me, are aces. There is a difference in my mind. Our phone number on the Meyer hotline is 866-838-4843, and you can text us Sports Radio 21,000. So here's how the Athletic broke it down, and they rated not every starter, I don't believe, but they rated a ton. They broke it down into tier 1, the inner circle, unanimous number ones. Tier 2 are aces, the pitchers you can trust all regular season and again in October. Tier 3, the doorstep knockers, the pitchers who might one day call themselves aces. Tier 4, number 2s and 3s, and tier 5 is number 4s and 5s. And they ranked, how many pitchers did they rank? They ranked a ton. They ranked, let's see here. They ranked 50 guys. And then they threw Ronaldo Lopez into an honorable mention, a Walker Buehler, just because of the injuries factor. They threw in Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer a little bit later because, they are they done? They're not number ones anymore, but they're not necessarily done. And they use a rating from last year, and they give you their statistics and so on and so forth. It's tough to rank a guy who, had 11 decisions or 6 decisions. You know what I mean? So anyway, what got me thinking about this is, okay, obviously Tarek Skubal, if he's not an ace, I am not reading this article. It makes no sense because it's ridiculous. You're an idiot.
Well, it disqualifies their opinion if they say that.
It to me, it takes the entire thing and you throw it in the trash. What I was most interested in is, because I think Skubal is a given, where does it go with any other Tiger pitcher? You're not ranking Reese Olson. You may love him, but there's not a deep enough track record. Jackson Jobe eventually might be on this list, but he is unproven. He doesn't belong on this list. I don't care what you think or what the scouts of Detroit think or what the general manager who drafted him think. I don't care about any of that, okay? And Jackson Jobe, by the way, was drafted by Al Avila. All that stuff is moot for right now because we just don't know. So it's obviously Skubal and it's Flaherty. I suppose Alex Cobb would be in there, but Alex Cobb isn't going to be on the top 50 list. He's just not. So I see that Tarek Skubal is definitely an ace. Gee, in the words of Bob Seger, blank, I've known that for 10 years, right? There's no doubt about that. And here's what they write about Skubal, who, by the way, they ranked as the number 1 pitcher overall. Paul Skeens is 2. Tarek Skubal, the inner circle, tier number 1, 100, a 100 rating. One scout, best there is right now. Another executive, might be the best in the sport right now. Another evaluator. You have access to his baseball savant, right? He's unbelievable. And they wrote down all the data and everything else. Skubal, another evaluator, put it, a monster not afraid to challenge you with an FU fastball. That's a beautiful thing. That might be my favorite quote of just about any athlete I've read recently, at least this year. Not afraid to challenge you. In other words, here it is. Let's see if you can hit it.
Yeah, be better.
Okay.
Be better than me. You can't.
So Tarek Skubal, for sure, in that top tier and basically alone in that top tier. So then I go looking for Jack Flaherty. Where would Jack Flaherty be? Because when he re-signed, everybody collectively held hands with one another and said, we're back. Kumbaya. This is a beautiful moment. I love it, right? That's what they love. That's fine. He was great with Detroit. Again, that's what people said. Word overused. He was great with Detroit last year before trading him to the Dodgers. Oh my gosh, look at what we did. We traded him to the Dodgers, got him back, and we got 2 of their prospects in return as well. We made out. Now that's a great trade. Yeah, it's pretty damn good trade, especially if those 2 players turn out to be pretty good. One we don't know about. The other one, let's see if he can hit. Trey Sweeney can field, but let's see if he can hit. Anyway, Jack Flaherty, they have him ranked, of the 50 guys they ranked, 44th. And again, I'm not saying that this means this is going to define Jack Flaherty this year. But MLB insiders, executives, this is where they have him. And here's what they read. Last year was a 58 rating. Tarek Skubal was a 100 rating, for perspective. All right. If you're looking at somebody else from, to try and compare him to, I'll just throw up another name. Okay. Seth Lugo of Kansas City was really good last year. His rating was 64. I'm just giving you a perspective. All right. Anyway, so here's what they say about Jack Flaherty. Makes his triumph return to the list. He ranks 7th in the inaugural edition and 6th in 2021. Back then, our respondents debated Flaherty versus Buehler as the best young pitcher in the sport. The next few years were problematic for both. Flaherty hurt his shoulder. He stopped missing bats. He flopped after the Cardinals traded him to Baltimore in 2023. In 2024, it represented a comeback. With improvement, deception, and sharpened command, he excelled in the opening months of his 1-year contract with Detroit. Dodgers acquired him to aid their patchwork rotation. He helped his childhood team win the World Series and joined in the citywide jubilee. Yet a lucrative multi-year deal did not await him back in the market this winter, which should give everybody pause, you would think. We hear it all the time. Who's the smartest organization in baseball? There's no doubt it's the Los Angeles Dodgers. If the Los Angeles Dodgers don't want you and you were just with them and helped them win a championship and they thought you were that, why would they? They didn't want you, at least on a long-term deal. Does any Tiger fan take that into consideration? I don't know. Baltimore's been pretty smart as of late. They didn't want him, and the Tigers took him, and look at how well he did. So why should we base everything off what another team decides? Because it's the Dodgers and because they do most everything right, oftentimes. Anyway, they continue. There were worries about his flagging velocity during the postseason. That's legit. One scout said, absolutely no one is buying what this dude did in 2024 as repeatable. The Tigers were happy to reunite with him on a 2-year, $35 million contract. It's not going to handcuff you. It's not the worst decision in the world. I got no problem with him coming back to Detroit. What's he going to make? $15.5 million this year, I believe, something along those lines, maybe a little bit more. Yeah, I think it is a little bit more, actually, for the first year. And I think there's an option after. The problem I have is us believing that automatically he's number 2. And my hope is that he's not. My hope is that he's number 4 or number 3. What I want to be number 2. It'd be great to have Jackson Jobe number 2, but that's going to be really difficult when the guy has, just a cup of coffee in the major leagues. And it's tough to have your number 2 be limited to, I don't know, I'll throw a number out there, 130 innings. Okay. Reese Olson, it would be awesome for him to move into that spot. This is a guy, when healthy, he should be able to give you, I would hope, between 160 and 170 innings this year. You'd love more. You'd love 200, but it's just not feasible, I don't think, when a guy's never thrown more than 113. And probably in a not so or less than perfect world, Casey Mize, it wouldn't be bad to have him in that spot, considering you did spend a lot of equity with him and you did spend a first overall choice on him. That would be ideal. I don't think the ideal situation is Jack Flaherty being your number 2. And people in Detroit and the state of Michigan feel like, yes, this is the ideal scenario. It's not. One of your younger pitchers, and really the 2 younger guys are Olson and Jobe. You want those guys, maybe not to start the year, but eventually, quarter of the way through the season, 6 or 7 starts, to show you enough where you're going to get them deeper in games and they are positioned better to be what you hope will be a postseason run, to be that second guy you're bringing in instead of, well, Jack Flaherty struggled, but he's got postseason experience, so we're going to do that. Plus, he was great last year for us, and Chris Fetter makes a big difference with him, and this, that, and the other thing. Not every scout is right. We just gave you a history lesson on that a couple of segments ago regarding Jack McCloskey, Jimmy Delano, obviously Al Avila. Not all these scouts are correct. But when somebody says absolutely no one is buying what this dude did in 2024 as repeatable, does it make you wonder if anybody is buying what the what the Tigers did in 2024 as repeatable overall? It's a question that will be asked. Let's see how it's answered, because we're going to be talking about it quite a bit. Our thanks to Bill Kosh, the writer from the Providence Journal. He gave us a little bit of a lowdown on